YouTube, YouTube, YouTube. Another exclusive here. We're churning them out as fast as we can. Now, when this one goes live, it'll probably be very close to the Zendikar pre-release. So, good luck. But until then, let's revisit something punishing with a twist. Punishing indeed. Here we are with Red Punisher. However, we're going to flavor it with a little bit of black. We'll call it either Dark Punisher or Red-Black Punisher. Now, you'll be very familiar with most of the list here. We've got our Bolts, our Eidolons. I have kept a couple Force of Rages, even though people don't think this is the best card ever. Torbrands in here, of course, and then our sideboard. What has changed, though, is if we scoot this over briefly, we're going to nix completely artifact removal, along with just a general removal. We'll hope this doesn't punish us. We have removed Harsh Mentor, although this activated ability on fetch lands and other nuances is nice because the matchups are tending towards probably prowess or maybe just even a little bit of Tron or Amulet, as we've seen recently. I don't see it's going to be useful at the moment. We're cutting Simian's Spirit Guide in efforts to make Red-Black a little more aggro, but also a little less all-in. Cutting Simian's Spirit Guide. We won't rush things out, however, we're hoping our threats can be enough and persistent enough. Force of Rage 1 or 2 are cut. Chandra Torch of Defiance has been cut for Hazoret. Ember Cleave has been cut because I think it's a little too cute and I want to win in other fashions, and so that's why we're splashing black. What replaces all kinds of things that we've taken out? You'll notice that we have an extra Torbrand here, so we're up to 4. We have an extra Bone Crusher, we're now up to 4. And we do this when we try new builds to make the deck as consistent as possible to see what happens. The 2 slot where Harsh Mentor is, we'll now have Dreadhorde Butcher, which is a little bit of a favorite from Historic, and I don't mind giving it a shot in Modern. The card in itself synergizes with Torbrand, and if removed improperly by our opponent, hurts them. Kroxa is going to make a debut here. We're going to do a pair of this. I'm not sure how often I'll need Kroxa in the late game, but we got a pair. Lightning Skelemental debuts here with the Red Punisher. Seemed appropriate as replacements for Force of Rage, and we'll see if a Skelemental in this case is better, that being the discard portion. It seems to be about the same amount of damage unless Torbrand's out. And finally, we're going to go ahead and run some Seasoned Pyromancers. This is kind of a nod to maybe there will be control out there, and Seasoned Pyromancer along with Kroxa should do wonders. So taking this all out, replacing 15 cards, rework the lands to be expected, and now we go to sideboard. Now, we've thought about this for a little bit, and although I appreciate a Blood Moon deck, as many of you know, we are opting for no Blood Moons. So Blood Moon and Magus will be replaced with Molten Rains. The idea here is that in Lands Matter deck, another 2 damage definitely wouldn't be missed for sure. And also we can destroy some specific lands. You'll have to keep in mind that we can't do this faster with the Simian Spirit Guides, but because we don't have those Simian Spirit Guides, I didn't feel like Blood Moon was worth it. So, 4 out. The other thing that's changing here, and I've noticed that I've had trouble getting to about 4 or 5 mana sometimes, is we're going to go ahead and take a pair of Glorybringers out, and we're going to bring in 2 Hazorets. Hazoret's just very aggressive, hard to get rid of, and one of our more interesting and difficult matchups, although adding the black may help, is Jund. Jund struggles so much with Hazoret that I think it's completely worth the potential of having multiples in hand. You'll notice after removing that, we don't have just 2, we have a 3rd one, and we have a 4th one main. These are the changes to our list. The list is untested, so let's take a ride into the league. Let's see how we do. Let's see if Red Punisher can go dark. Match 1 coming up. Let's get rolling. Dark Red or Red-Black Punisher in Modern. Match 1, let's find an opponent. Whoop, baby. It's gonna be a good one. I can feel it. We also notably got rid of Gemstone Cavern. Keep that in mind. No luck counters here. No luck counters. 22 lands. Curve that basically finishes at 3 Might be a little bit high on the lands. We'll see. We'll hope Blackcleave Cliffs doesn't show up as the 4th land and mess us up. We'll see what all happens. Match 1 has been found. We found our opponent. Let's play some Magic. Untested. In we go. Let's play first. Always good. 1 lander. Not a great start. If we had the 2nd land, you can guarantee I would play this. Easy Eidolon, removal, 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 maybe even Kroxa. But I think in light of testing and making sure we actually hit our land drops, we will mulligan this opener. 1 lander to 6 lander. We probably have to mulligan again. I would hate to run into a Thoughtseize list. Here we go. All right. Force of Rage, Seasoned Pyromancers, Skelemental, all at 3, but a couple bolts. I'm going to keep this. We're going to get rid of a Force of Rage. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the bolt as well, because we have to go down 2. We'll play our Blackcleave Cliffs. Now, our basic swamps, we have 2 of them, might punish us here, because we have a double red card. But we just got to try it out. We'll tune the list as we go, and we'll see how it goes. The opening hand, by the way, would have completely crushed our opponent. Our opponent appears to be Grixis Death Shadow with that bobble. That opening hand, having a 2nd land, completely wrecks this opponent. But for another day. Luckily for us, Stubborn Denial doesn't hit actually too much of our stuff. It hits bolts, force, stomp. That's about it. So that might come in handy. Fetching Shocking, Watery Grave, untapped. Thoughtseize. All right. What would you like to take, opponents? This is a matchup where Kroxa actually might be very good to have as a backup. Can get fatal pushed, unfortunately. Thoughtseize takes a Seasoned Pyromancer. We have 9 damage in our hand here. Top deck is Bobble Trader. Top deck. A Bone Crusher Giant here. It's not too bad. I'm going to go ahead and stomp right now to avoid a Stubborn Denial so I at least get the 2 damage in. This helps my Grixis Death Shadow opponent out a little bit. We're not going to worry about that. We do have 9 damage here, so another fetch or a shock might not be ideal. And being able to play this down maybe next turn looks kind of nice too. Opponent does a Street Wraith here. Going down to 11. Again, we have 9 damage here. Probably better to lead with Skelemental if I get that opportunity. Down to 10. Basic Swamp. Inquisition, so they can take Skelemental. Okay, what else? What else? Gurmag Angler, it looks like here. Alright, so my opponent's at 10. I have 3 damage, putting them at 7. And we have a Bone Crusher Giant over here. Alright, I do hit my extra Bloodstained Mire here. I think I'm pretty okay with just slapping in the Bone Crusher Giant here. It's a little harder for my opponent to remove. Obviously, Fetch and Fatal Push does that. But having this Bone Crusher, and if they don't have maybe another creature or something like that, could be difficult for them to get rid of this. Blood Crypt Shocked in. Gurmag Angler hits for 5. We will take it. Keeping in mind, a couple running lands here helps the Seasoned Pyromancer. We have a 5/5 Death Shadow as well. 3 cards remain in my opponent's hand. We top deck a. We top deck a Dreadhorde Butcher. Dreadhorde Butcher's kind of a cute one here. We can play this. I could just be defensive with it, which means it's an extra point of damage upstairs at some point. That seems okay. Let's stay back. Stay back. And we'll pass the turn. They've got to be holding Stubborn Denial. Fatal pushes here. We'll go ahead and go upstairs for 1. Down to 7. Pass turn. 6-6 and a 5-5 here. And I'm going to let, I think, all of this through. Temur Battle Rage is scary, though. Hesitation here means they probably don't have it. I'll take 6. Okay, we're at 8. Opponent's at 7. No follow-ups. Seasoned Pyromancer. Let's go ahead and do this. I know this gets rid of my bolts here, but this is pretty safe. Creates a blocker as well. Having these extra cards could be very important. So no bolt. Oh yeah. Those are some good cards. Alright, so I've got a chump blocker here for sure. Happily take a Torbrand and a Bone Crusher here. A pair of bolts wouldn't have been bad either. Now, if we would have fired off that bolt, we wouldn't have this extra elemental token. K commands makes me discard. I'll probably discard Torbrand here because it's the non-castable card. Okay. Their turn. We have a Polluted Delta here. Probably a Stubborn Denial and an unknown card. Those would be my guesses. This is a pretty easy block here with the Elemental. And I don't see them attacking with both until they have a Temur Battle Rage, which at that point we've pretty close to losing. Now this is where a Force of Rage could be pretty nice. Force of Rage would be able to create creatures across 2 bodies. It does get hit by a Stubborn Denial. Ooh, we're coming in with both. The whole hesitation to come in with both just tells me they don't have a Temur Battle Rage. That is what I think it's signaling here. My opponent fears. We'll just jump block here. Might be just slapping out a Bone Crusher Giant. Nothing too fancy, right? Ooh. Rabble Master is kind of interesting. Rabble Master is interesting because it creates a threat. The following turn, I could, like, not block. I could maybe not block. Then it'll just fetch shock. We'll play Rabble Master over Bone Crusher because Bone Crusher can go upstairs. Either one is probably chump blocking this Death Shadow. Maybe I'll get lucky and they'll just let this through for me. Chump blocking as best as we can. In for a point. Pass the turn. Pass the turn. All on you, opponent. Hopefully my opponent picks up the speed of play too. If they play like this, they may not get through all 3 games if we need them. If we need them. And that would not be ideal. Alright, my opponent takes the turn back here. Fetch land. Probably 2 unknown cards with 1 Stubborn Denial. I presume we're going to rinse and repeat here, swinging with just Death Shadow. We will block with Rabble Master for the time being. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. We top deck a Lightning Bolt. Okay. This is 5 damage. Wonder if I could, like, wait on this. Or if I have to block. Let's wait on this and see if my opponent does anything differently since I don't play a creature into play. Again, we think they have a Stubborn Denial. Might play it a little bit risky, though, to see if they'll fetch for me and shock. In response, I will try to kill them, perhaps? Oh, here we go. This is probably good enough. This does 2 damage upstairs. They could fetch for a basic here. Let's see if they go fetch him. They don't. We might have gotten there. Depends on if they have one for here. Fetching basic and getting us. The Drown the Lock, maybe on this Bone Crusher Giant, was maybe not enough. Did we get there? Holding? Encouraging them? Surely we did not. Oh, we have a Cling. We have a Cling. Well, I didn't see the Cling to Dust coming. Alright, my opponent has enough here to kill me. We'll go ahead and concede. Because my opponent's taking some time to play Magic here. Who knows if they're duo queuing or not. Alright, so Cling gets us there. Extra couple life points. Alright, so Hazard's pretty good in this one. A Molten Rain's probably not so much. Probably the Dreadhorde Butcher's not enough. It could be, though. I mean, this might be one of these matchups where I cut like a couple Legion War Bosses and maybe a few Force of Rages to bring in creatures that don't get countered. Hazard's being brought in because it's a good blocker and it can end the game pretty quickly. I think I can take... Let's take one Seasoned Pyromancer out. I'm bringing the Rampaging Ferocidons in. It's interesting because the Menace actually can play in pretty well, and it's not that they're going to be playing multiple creatures, but rather just getting around the creatures is important to me. Also, it does stop Cling. It happens to do that. We'll make these changes. I don't think I want to bring Molten Rain in. This would be a matchup where Blood Moon would be a reasonable inclusion, but maybe my opponent will just fetch thinking that we have that going on. Yeah, I think I'm good with this. Game 2 coming up. Alright, game 2. Let's play first. Alright, I'll keep this. Unfortunately, we do not have Eidolon able to be played immediately, but this Butcher's here, and I wanted to give this Butcher a shot. So we'll give this a go here. Probably not even going to bother shocking in here. We're going to get Dreadhorde Butcher, not doing any damage to my opponent here, and then start bashing in with the Butcher. Getting him 3 or 4 times here with Butcher would be crazy. Would be very good for us as well. We'll see, we'll see. Polluted Delta after a Mishra's Bauble here. Watery Grave, shocked in, I presume a Thoughtseize. Inquisition. Alright, so they can take any of this at the bottom half of the hand. Eidolon's definitely very scary for them. It makes the math very odd, especially with some lightning bolts. Butcher's probably a card that they haven't seen, so this might worry them as well. In many cases, it's not a bad idea to take the card you're the most unfamiliar with if it seems like it'll do some serious damage. Lightning bolts are probably not taken here because they're redundant. We'll see what they take. I think it's going to be this Eidolon, personally, but they might take Butcher. Opponent takes Eidolon. Not even a castable card, my opponent is afraid of it. Bauble here. And the top of the library is a Bloodstained Mire. We'll just hang tight here, and we'll play a Butcher. No real reason to put the Bloodstained Mire in just yet. Attack for 1. Get a counter on Butcher, and it is now a 2/2. Threatening to grow and grow and grow. We have a nice curve here. If we top deck a land, I can put Bloodstained Mire in and then Bolt, and then plan to do Hazard. My opponent needs to get rid of the Hazard. They probably have to Thoughtseize this turn. They may not have a removal for Dreadhorde. They do have a basic Swamp. Thoughtseize. Hazard's gone. Down to 14. And? Looks like maybe no follow-up. Perhaps no follow-up. There's a Torbrand. I wonder if we wait it out here. In for 2. We'll see if this gets Fatal Pushed. And it does. 2 upstairs. Opponent's at 11. We'll go ahead and pass the turn here. Being able to play a Torbrand down and then double Bolt. Yeah, that's what we want to do. Bloodstained Mire, fetching. Perhaps shocking. And does so. No, they do not. Ooh, they do not. Smells like a Gurmag Angler again. So I could double Bolt now, do 6, put them to 5. I would then have a Torbrand that could be played afterwards. If I get this down, this is 10 damage. It also removes Gurmag Angler. I think we wait and try to hit another land here for Torbrand. It does make the Lightning Bolts, they can counter them with the 5/5 here in a Stubborn Denial. I think risk-reward here. If I get Torbrand down, we're looking really good. All right, a little Bone Crusher Giant here. 3, 6, 7, 8. I'll let my opponent untap. So I wonder if they have a Cling again. Blood Crypt, tapped. In for 5. Go ahead and rattle off a Bolt here. See if my opponent is worried about that. They were not. We'll hold here. I don't want to commit anything else to the board just yet. Alright, Torbrand, we'll see if they've got the counter. They did play Drown the Lock, and I do have 5 things in my yard here. This could also just be removed after it hits the battlefield with a Fetch, Fatal Push, or a Drown the Lock, just playing the remove instead of the counter side. Torbrand does stick. My opponent goes to end step. And does not remove. Okay. So it looks like Torbrand's sticking around just for a little bit here. Now, the question could be, do we attempt to bolt the Angler, or do we try to go upstairs with our spells? I think if Angler comes at me, though, attacking with Torbrand and then offering up all of the Bone Crusher and Bolt damage could be lethal. A Polluted Delta is played. I don't expect them to fetch unless they have a Fatal Push. If they do that, they've kind of got to do it, I think, now rather than later. Alright, opponent is letting the combat go here. Attacks. No blocks. No blocks. Would absolutely love to attack them. Anything else, opponent? They could cast a Dismember pretty easily here. 1, 2. Black, red. K-Command deals 2 damage to any target, and we discard a card. I guess I discard a Bone Crusher Giant. So we've done 2 damage here. Now what? Fetching. Island, Watery Grave. Collective Brutality to remove it. Okay. We hit another Bone Crusher Giant. I could do a few things here, and my opponent spent a lot of time removing there. Part of me wants to remove the Gurmag Angler. I can Bolt and Bone Crusher Giant it. That would be 5 upstairs, putting them to 2. But that doesn't kill them, and I'm dead in 2 turns. If I do Bolt and Bone Crusher Giant here, as long as this last spell is not a creature, I can play Bone Crusher and kill them in 2 turns. I think that's probably the better line here. So let's Bolt and Stomp. Now if I go upstairs, they attack me, they don't have Temur Battle Rage or something, and then I top deck Hazret. You know, there is that. But I like this, remove the creature. My opponent didn't put another creature into play, so that makes me feel pretty good. And even if they K-command to remove this card that I'm about to draw, I have Bone Crusher Giant that I can play. I'm good with playing either Bone Crusher or Rabble Master here. Rabble Master attacks for a point. It does die to a couple bolt, or it dies to a bolt without doing damage, but it also creates creatures. I like this a little bit better than Bone Crusher Giant. It also removes a card on the off chance they decide to do like Snap K command here to block Bone Crusher in the future. Bloodstained Mire here, 2 unknown cards. We're going to be presenting lethal. I like doing Seasoned Pyromancer before. If I draw a Bolt here, this really presents lethal pretty easily. Alright, we don't have something that prevents Snapcaster here. But I will say this. Our next 2 turns will be really nice. In for 6, threatening lethal here. Fetching Bloodstain, shooting Goblin Master, drown the Locket. Alright, opponent clings to dust our Torbrand, gains a little bit of life, and holds out for another turn. Gotta be aware of that cling to dust. They seem to be running this. They could also... 5 cards, 1, 2, 3, 4. They can't quite escape it. They could if they do the Bloodstained Mire. Now they can escape it here, which gets them back up to 5. I don't know if that's necessarily worth it here, but I suppose if they get a single blocker here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 is how they're viewing it. Luckily, everything I've got in my hand gets around Stubborn Denial. I actually like the Dreadhorde Butcher here because it's that extra point of damage whether it was removed or not. And then it would grow. Looks like we're clinging again. Probably just Hazard or Eidolon out of the yard here. They go after my Bolt to draw a card. Alright, that seems reasonable. Draw 1 more and see if they get any deeper to either a Wrath effect, a couple creatures, removal pieces, whatever it may be. Alright, a couple Skelementals there, round that one off. Changes. I almost like the idea of just a quicker Legion War Boss than like 1 Hazard, 1 Torbrand here. Just to be a little bit more aggressive. Seasoned Pyromancer may be better than such an aggressive line of Hazards. And being on the draw now, we're less likely to have Hazard Hellbent. Leyline of Combustion's cute in this matchup. I think that's going to be more for the combo deck that triggers and fires a bunch of things at us, or Jund. Not necessarily this one, because I think it enables their Death Shadow way too quickly, and we don't want that. Alright, opening hand looks fantastic here. We have a Eidolon, we have that straight into a Legion War Boss, and from there we have Bone Crusher Giant to either pick off something or finish them off. Top decking a Rabble Master as well. We can pretty much curve out here, and this one should be enough damage. We'll see if it plays out. I actually like playing Red Punisher, or Dark Punisher here, against Death Shadow because I don't have as many things that get nailed by a Stubborn Denial, which feels really nice. Top of the library is a Black Cleave Cliffs. I'm going to use the Bloodstain Mire here. I take 1 point. I have plenty of black. I have plenty of red. I'm just going to slap an Eidolon down and pass turn. They can't counter this, so they have to target it. And if they do target it, they take 2 points of damage. It'd be nice to keep the Eidolon around, but we may not have that luxury here. We can do Black Cleave Cliffs here, and then we have 4 mana, 5 mana. So we have all the mana. We just need a top deck spell after spell after spell here. Looks like they're going to remove this. Fatal Pushing, that seems like a good one to choose. And my opponent's at 13. They follow this up with a Thought Scour, filling their graveyard up for the potential of a Gurmag Angler. Polluted Delta here for our opponent, fetching immediately. And does not shock in. And it looks like we're going to get Gurmag Angler down. You'll notice they keep having like Stubborn Denial represented here, and it just doesn't do anything to us. Alright, so we have a Skelemental. Skelemental could bash in for some damage and make them discard cards. It's probably getting in for a full 6. Or I can save this for after Legion Warboss and Rabblemaster. I think I want to save it after these two. I could see my opponent just landing a Death Shadow and this being a little bit of a problem. Could even play a turn where I do Rabblemaster next, and then the following turn I do Skelemental and Bone Crusher. Now I'm doing Legion Warboss first because I'm expecting in some ways this Gurmag Angler to attack me. The next turn I'm going to play Rabblemaster. 2 tokens plus Warboss needs to get in. That's the theory here. And if they block Warboss, that's fine. I'll get in for 3 damage and put them to 9. This is a tough one for our opponent at this point. They don't have any idea what they're playing against because they weren't able to Thoughtseize. And Thoughtseize at this point, I don't think is a really good idea for them. They do come in for 5. Does this make a small Death Shadow if they play one? Man, what a hot curve. Let's attempt a Rabblemaster. Alright, everything comes in. Mentor, 2 Goblin tokens for 5 damage. They do not remove the Rabblemaster. This looks pretty good. I'm at 14. That's a bit safer than some life totals. I can probably just chump block this Gurmag Angler at this point. I have Skelemental Bone Crusher Giant showing up. Them playing Death Shadow here, it might just be a Torbrand and slam in. Oh, it's looking like a Torbrand slam in time. Give me a bolt off the top. Hit a Butcher. So if they have a Drown the Lock, they can't counter this, they can't destroy this. They block here, here, and they take all 1, 2, and 3, 4 tokens. So I think we just play a Torbrand, and I think it's lethal. They can't even Drown the Lock these 2 cards either. They could remove one with a Dismember, I suppose. Send everything in. Threaten lethal. Mentor a Goblin. Keeping in mind that these Goblins are hitting for 3, 3, 4, 4. Block, block. Fatal Push, Drown in the Lock. If they're able to do that, they stay alive with 1. Which would be awful. Which would be awful. They would lose, or no, they don't lose this because of the damage resolving. Alright, what do you have, opponent? We have a Cling. That just puts them to 10. That's not enough, right? That's not enough. The clings don't get our opponent to enough life. We dodge Stubborn Denial. Dark Pyro, first outing, takes down match 1. It's a bit of a long one too. Didn't see too much Dreadhorde Butcher. Didn't see too much Lightning Skelemental coming in. Pretty much the core getting it done. We'll see you in match 2. Hopefully speed this one up. Match 2. Dark Punisher. In Modern. We'll figure out a name by the end of all 5 matches. So, has the Black Splash really done anything for us? Not really at this point. However, it's given us some interesting pieces. It might have kept actually the clings in. The clings might have been remaining in there because they saw maybe something they're like, oh, maybe they'll be doing something out of their graveyard. I don't know. Anyway, match 1's down. Match 2 here. Opponent's found. Let's play some Magic. Opponent is the Frank. And we've got the draw. Alright, opening hand punishes us again a little bit with this Eidolon. However, I sort of like what's going on here. I think we'll go ahead and keep. You have to remember that we could just top deck a mountain. And mountains are the most prominent in the list. There's actually only 2 basic swamps. Interesting that we keep running into this problem, though. Scalding turn for our opponent and passes the turn back to us. We'll lead with a mountain and pass. Picking up a Rabble Master is not too bad, especially if we're against red, blue, blue, red. Teamer. Misty. Okay. Okay. Well, we miss on our lands for the first 2 draws. We'll need a land here soon. Growth Spiral. In response to this, I'll go ahead and just stomp. Probably the best time to do this. We might be seeing a Euro here. Steam Vents taps in. Skelemental may be a really good follow-up to a Euro here. Definitely a control-based matchup and something we should be able to beat fairly easily. We have what? Cryptic Command. You know what? I'm going to try Eidolon here. It's now getting weaker and weaker. If it sticks, it might hit for 2 damage here off of a cantrip or 2. To me, this is like Archmage or Cryptic Command. Counter draw from our opponent for their Cryptic Command. That's fine. It's the weakest card at this point in the game. We got Bone Crushers, we got Torbrens, we got Hazards to do. Misty Rainforest here for our opponent. They can pick up the Cryptic Command and do this again. With that being said, let's try Eidolon number 2. We're pretty good at game 1, game 2 here against this opponent. A control matchup. Maybe bringing in some ley lines here, or Ferocidons if I see the Euro. Ooh, we have a Factor Fiction. All right. You may have... Maybe we do it this way. They can get a Cryptic here and lands. I don't care at all about this Force of Negation. Let's do it this way. Maybe they take the Force and the Misty here. I'm trying to get them to not take this Cryptic Command, but I don't want to shove all the lands one way. They put Field, Misty, and Force of Negation into their graveyard. So they took the land and the Cryptic. Opponent bolts Eidolon. So I gave him the Breeding Pool. I probably should have just given him maybe the Field instead of a Breeding Pool with a Cryptic. Alright, so Cryptic here. Let's play... Let's cast a Bone Crusher Giant from the hand. This will probably get a counter. Let's see if we can wait on this Eidolon. We've drawn 3 Eidolons this game, which are all really good. But I'm trying to maybe get this one to stick. Counter draw from our opponent. They're at 13. Keeping in mind, if I get a Rabble Master to stick, my opponent's in trouble. Field of the Dead. Now I'm in trouble. Not entirely sure if I can beat a Field of the Dead. However, Ferocidon's not too bad here. Life from the Loam. Life from the Loam picked up Field of Ruin, Misty Rainforest, and Misty Rainforest. I'm going to play this other Bone Crusher Giant. I'm trying not to show too much information here. With 2 lands coming and their ability to probably pick up these cryptic commands while also having a bunch of zombies, we're probably not in a good spot. Also, noting that it is turn 7, I still haven't picked up my 4th land yet. Just make it look like Eidolons and Bone Crushers. That's all we got to show them. So it's a Fact or Fiction ramping deck. And somehow a Euro got in the yard, and I don't recall when that happened. It wasn't off the Fact or Fiction. It must have been when they discarded with Life in the Loam, because I think they had 8 cards. Alright, so Euros here, some zombies here. I think with this fetch and then being able to find a Mystic Sanctuary here, I think we can go ahead and concede. I don't want to waste our time just watching them create zombies here. So, let's get things to stick a little bit earlier, and I think we'll be completely fine against this opponent. Rampaging Ferocidon and Molten Rains can come in for this matchup. I think for here, Kroxa's not a bad idea. Skelemental's good. Dreadhorde Butcher's not too bad either. The problem is they could bounce this, so it might be 2 Butchers out, 1 Torbrand, 1 Hazoret, 1 Bone Crusher, 1 Seasoned Pyromancer possibly. I could bring a few relics here over maybe these Butchers, but the relics do hurt my own Kroxas, and I kind of want to have that chance to reanimate our Kroxa here by escaping it. So Ferocidon's actually for the field and for your bro. The Molten Rains is to set them back while also doing damage. Torbrand remains in here because if we get an early board, we'll be good and just slap that down and we'll play from there. This opening hand looks much better than that very first one, and we'll see how it plays out for us. We're definitely going to do a Bloodstained Mire fetching Eidolon into potentially Molten Rain or maybe a Ferocidon. Keeping in mind that almost everything we play still gets around force. So it's really nice to not be trying to play a Blood Moon and they just keep forces. Now I might have hinted at that when my opponent did the Fact or Fiction in the way I split it. But they've got to imagine I've got some nasty things over here. Alright, shock this in, Eidolon down, pass turn. Honestly, this might just be Molten Rain go. Molten Rain set you back. Let's play Magic. Ooh, I think it is. Ferocidon's kind of a cute card here. Let's go ahead and attack first. Ferocidon's cute because of the kind of the late game impact. But we're not at that point. I'm expecting a Growth Spiral here. So this is Molten Rain. I do 2 to myself. My opponent fetches here, point to them, plus their Growth Spiral here. If they counter this, that's 2 damage and non-ramping as well. So my opponent remands to give me a chance to do this in a future day. And we have Eidolon. Now if they do go ahead and play Euro here and maybe like land Euro and then maybe another tap land, that might be a great opportunity for Skelemental to get in. We'll see, we'll see. Alright, let's start with an attack here. They do know about this Molten Rain. They know I could replay this Molten Rain. I might go ahead and just do that. See if they have an Archmage Charm. Going after the Stomping Ground again, because it's got them on 2 colors. Molten Rain gets remanded as well. And we're just back to this. 2 damage to me, 2 damage to my opponent. Opponent fetches, putting themselves to 10, breeding pool tapped. Are we just going to rinse and repeat this numerous times over, opponent? Snow-covered island, 4 mana for my opponent, and passes it back. We're going to attack them for 2. In for 2. Now I hit the breeding pool. Molten Rain on the breeding pool. I assume this is a cryptic command. Counter, perhaps bounce Eidolon. And they do. This is totally fine for us. We have 3 mana plus 1. Maybe we get Eidolon down. Maybe we don't. Opponent's sitting at 8. And now they don't think I have a Molten Rain. I could lead with Molten Rain next turn. I also have 12 damage here, which looks pretty good, and could kill my opponent. I would be worried about tapping out here. And I think it's tempting to lead with Eidolon, but we may have to lead with something like a Molten Rain to get rid of a land if they don't want to tap out here. Just threat after threat after threat. Ghost Quarter for our opponent. We have 5 mana. We don't need a lot of black, so if they go after the Blood Crypt, that's fine. What are we going to do here? We're playing magic. Something is being cast. What might this be? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Have Stomping Ground, Snow-Covered Island open. Euro, play another card on the side. They have double green, double blue. Opponent Life from the Loams. Picking up Scalding Tarn, Scalding Tarn. Now Euro? Okay. Land drop would be good. Ooh. Ooh, it's a tap land. All right. I like still trying to get Eidolon down here. If my opponent has a Remand, I get to Eidolon again. We're forcing something like an Archmage Charm there. And we'll just pass the turn with Eidolon in play. And then my opponent did pick up 2 Scalding Tarns here. My opponent mills with the Life in the Loam, milling a Scalding Tarn and a Flame Slash. I think they did that to give them the best chances of finding Euro. Palace in the Clouds in. Okay. Do I just try to go for the win here? I probably do. Play like Force of Rage. See if this gets a counter. And if it gets a counter, follow it up with Skelemental. Skelemental probably dodges like another Force of Rage here. Or Force of Negation. So this getting counter and tap team. Ooh, Factor Fiction. Okay. You can have Remand. I don't like this bolt. I don't like this bolt. You can have a Remand and Euro, or you can have Bolt and, Bolt and lands. There you go. Bolt, lands, or Remand Euro here. Remanding the Force of Rage, thinking they're good, and then I get to slap them with Skelemental, and it avoids a Force of Negation. Seems really good here. Basically saying, you may bolt something, it won't matter, or you must remand. I think we get this. They took the bolt. Interesting. I'm going to just follow this up with a Skelemental here as well. If they have to remand, they've got to do that now. They take 2, they don't get to bolt. If they bolt here, they're bolting something, they hit this, they take 2, it's 6, 7, 8. We got it. Enough pressure. Albeit I'm at lower life total than them. And scary enough, if they had another bolt and another red source, we might have been in trouble. Okay. Changes. Probably not. Probably no changes. The Molten Rain was pretty nice. We just tried to Molten Rain a land a bunch, and it eventually never happened to any real effect. But Eidolon was super good there. And I could see myself where a Dreadhorde Butcher hitting 2 turns would probably be enough, where the bolt doesn't matter as much anymore. A Cryptic would be a problem, but I'm not so worried about that. Just mono 3-drop. That's basically what we're playing here. Seasoned Pyromancer maybe should come in over 1 Torbran. You know what? Now that I'm sitting here thinking about that, let's do that. Because if they counter a Seasoned Pyromancer, I can bring back the tokens. The tokens are red, but they're also kind of a pain for my opponent to get rid of. And they could be a good chump blocker if we get into that state with an Uro. Yeah, I'm okay with that. All right. My opponent keeps 7. We have a Ferocidon Force Rabblemaster hand. I think I can find a Butcher or an Eidolon. That would be faster and better. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to keep this because a Force of Rage could be used to get rid of a Euro in a pinch. I don't mind just slamming 3 drops out on my opponent. We'll see how it plays out. See how it plays out. Triome here. Maybe we'll get lucky with like a Rabblemaster or Ferocidon down. Maybe I'll just top deck the Eidolon we wanted on turn 2. There we go. Eidolon on turn 2. Is this a remand? Looks like it. Aether Gust. I'm good with the bottom here. We've got things to do here, opponent. Things to do. Damage to receive. Misty Rainforest here. 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. This needs 5. Almost tempting to Ferocidon. So if they try to bring this back. I could also Molten Rain probably pretty safely here. My opponent has 1 blue right now. Their deck is chock full of blue cards. I'm going to play a Ferocidon down. No, I'm not. Is this the time just to get Rabblemaster down? Let's get a Rabblemaster down. Rabblemaster on turn 2 would have been a lot more impactful, obviously. My opponent has 4 cards here. If they've got the fetch lands, the Molten Rain doesn't make much sense here. They currently don't have Cryptic mana, so they did have the Scalding Tarn, so they were going to be able to play Euro regardless here. Alright, so we have to beat a Euro, which is going to be hard. Opponent Flame Slashes our Rabblemaster, which is super good for them because they get the removal as well. I'm not entirely sure I can beat a Euro here. Playing the Ferocidon down, it would have just been killed as well. Here we can at least play Ferocidon to stop some of the life gain from our opponent. We'll try to do that and see if that benefits us. The hope here is to be able to maybe cast a Force of Rage, maybe pitching Lightning Bolt and killing Euro, and then maybe get a Torbran down. But this assumes my opponent has kind of nothing going on. Bolts Ferocidon, so my opponent will gain life now. Before they draw, let's go ahead and exile a Bolt. Trying to block Euro here with 2 3/1s to kill it. Looks like we have a counter. We have an Is It Charm. This one's slipping away, but I'm not entirely surprised here. Do a no block. Go down to 10. I don't think being on just red or just black or anything here is going to do very well against a Euro. We do have the anti-life gain. We do have the stuff that prevents our opponent from flooding the board with Field of the Dead, but getting the board gummed up, getting the life gain, and getting ahead of us, probably too much. I'll take one more draw here. That being said, with a Misty Rainforest finding a Mystic Sanctuary, picking up probably a Cryptic Command, there's not really a way I'm going to get rid of this Euro, unfortunately. I can chump block this turn, but now that they have the Cryptic Command in hand, there's really not much I can do. If I play this, they counter. We can try, but if they counter this, we'll be saying goodbye. They just remand it. My opponent's got a Cryptic Command in hand. They're good. They get us. Match 2. A loss to the Euro pile. Can't win them all. Let's keep it rolling. Let's punish some other people. Match 3. Looking for our opponent. 1-1 overall. Not a bad start. Playing the Dark Punisher in Modern. And we found our opponent. Let's play Magic. Please no more Euros. Please. Alright, we get to play first. That's always a good thing for us. We have 2 lands, Eidolon, Butcher, Butcher. It's time to see if the Butchers make it happen. Let's keep. Let's see. This will be a very good test here to see if we completely gone off the rails here by including Butcher, or if we might have something with adding black. Opponent mulls to 6. And what's cute here is if it happens to be Tron, Butchers are a little more aggressive than Eidolons. A little bit more. Alright. Blood Crypt tapped from us, a Pendelhaven from our opponent, and a Noble Hierarch. Alright. Well, this will be interesting. This will be interesting. Black Cleave Cliffs. I'm going to go ahead and put the Butcher down. We're going to go ahead and swing for 1 and pass the turn. So we have what I presume is Infect. That is the assumption here. Playing an Eidolon might not be a bad thing here in our future, because Eidolon can get rid of, or sorry, cause a lot of damage. Man. Oh, maybe it's Boggles. Ranger. Huh. Ranger and a Walking Ballista. Well, this isn't exactly what I expected. Let's attack first. If they block here, I get to kill Noble and I get to kill Ranger. And with a Walking Ballista showing up here soon, it doesn't seem like a bad idea. This is interesting. I have not seen Pendelhaven Plains before. Alright, so they do block here. They sacrifice in response. I can just play like Eidolon here. I don't even have to cast this. There's not really a reason for them to sacrifice. So, shoot Noble here. Stomp the Ranger. Pass the turn. Now, it's a bit... It's a bit of a misstep here to have done it this way. If I would have done the butcher damage here, they sacrifice in response stomp, and then I'd have a bone crusher giant. So you can get all upset in the comments. You're welcome to. And in fact, I encourage it at this point. We played that one backwards. Alright, land in tap, pass turn. We just have Walking Ballista, though, to beat, and I have a big Torbrand showing up. I'm pretty happy about that. Might even idle on Dreadhorde Butcher here. Opponent Windswept Heaths and cracks it immediately, going to find some land, some forest, some plains. Temple Garden, and shocks this in. Utopia Sprawl on the Temple Garden. Molten Rain looks like it would be an okay thing to bring in, if that's some of their ramp. Chooses green, double green plus white here. An extra noble, and the Conclave Mentor. Alright. Well, lucky for me, I have a Lightning Skelemental, so we're going to go ahead and do that. One of the first times it's really come into play. We're just going to attack and clear the Walking Ballista and the other card out of their hand, and we'll pass the turn. If Torbrand was down before this, we'd be doing 8, but I think a solid 6 is fine with me. There you go. Down to 9. Walking Ballista plus the other card out of the hand, which happened to be a Ranger. We'll do a Bloodstain Mire crack, Blood Crypt in, F6, F6. Sacrifice Skelemental at end step. Opponent takes the top of the library. Hits for 2, 3 with Exalted. This is probably an easy Butcher Eidolon turn. Let's play these in the correct order. Butcher first. Attack. Then Eidolon. Opponent blocks. They block so it doesn't grow. I like that. I like that. Alright, so we have Eidolon here. My opponent plays a forest. They have an unknown card. They didn't cast it last time. We have a bonus Butcher here. I'm going to go ahead and play Torbrand, though. We can play Butcher next turn and haste it in. Combat, let's swing with maybe just Butcher. This does 4. It might just be a Butcher swing turn. And if they block, they die, and 1 goes upstairs, and then this is only 2 spells. Butcher in. This is against this little creature matchup here. Here we go. Block. Damage upstairs. They gain life as well. Okay, okay. There's some more text on that card. That's fine. That's fine. Still does 3 upstairs. Killed and did 3 from a 1/1. I like that. Torbrand plus Butcher doing work there. We take down game 1. Game 1, we've got some sort of combo going on here. Leyline, Molten Rain very much seem interesting. Rampaging Ferocidon also seems interesting to me. These are interesting cards. Hazoret can be pulled out here. Eidolon Butcher seemed okay. Kroxa doesn't feel very important in this matchup. I don't think Force of Rage is going to do enough. Legion Warboss might not be worth it either. I can trim 1 Torbrand, probably trim... I don't want to trim a Skelemental. That was very nice. Removal, damage, removal, Butchers. Let's do only 2 Molten Rains. Let's not go so crazy. We're doing the Molten Rains because if they do some Utopia Sprawls, it wouldn't be bad to hit it and do some damage and kind of set them back 1 or 2. Rampaging Ferocidon has been kind of a nice inclusion here. If my opponent tries to do some sort of gain life and put counters on things, which looks like it might be a possibility here, I want to be able to stop that. All right, here's one of these again. If I had a second land, we'd be off to the races and playing. I do have 2 draws at this, and that makes it kind of tempting. Should we? We really shouldn't. My opponent mulligans, though. Oh, I could try. I could try. If I do, I get rid of Rabble Master, so Seasoned Pyromancer can at least dig me when we find that land. Oh, this is not worth it. Don't do it, Fluffy. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Sometimes you just want to get lucky. You're excited. You just draw it off the top, just like we drew up. Nice. All right, we have a Marsh Flats here. Gets us our black mana. We have Pendelhamen, Razor Verge Thicket here. We have a Voice of Resurgence. Easy enough. Easy enough. Gonna slam the Butcher down. Oh, look at these. Look at these cards we're getting here. I almost want to just play an Eidolon here. I don't care about Voice. Let's do Eidolon. Let's do Eidolon because I could then Butcher, Rabble Master. Any of these are probably fine follow-ups here. And if they have a path, they're just going to help me out here. There's the God of the Sun Crowned. They take 2. This Leyline might protect us. Look at us drawing crazy valuable off the top. Black here. Let's hit them up with a Rabble Master this turn. They're going to block, but the following turn I can do double down on Butchers here. I'm going to be taking damage to do all of this. But if my opponent's trying to do the Walking Ballista plan, they gain 1 but take 2. It'll be interesting how this works out. Maybe I should be watching my life total a little bit more. I'm just going to swing with the 1 Goblin here, pass turn. We'll see if they've got the combo. We'll see. Attacking with a big Rabble Master could be just what we wanted. Horizon Canopy here might be taking a point of damage. Plays a Knight of Autumn. Knight of Autumn gets rid of our Leyline. And they take an additional 2 damage when targeting this. Has to be Leyline, right? It's not Eidolon. There you go. Take an additional 2. Alright. Ooh. Ooh, I want to play him instead. Let's play him instead. We can send in a token and it trades. This also makes Eidolon more powerful. I'm good with just sending Goblin in. Just generate every turn. Play 2 Butchers this following turn. Torbrand plus Butcher's been a delight so far. Alright, we block with Voice here. Voice dies. We get an Elemental. We have a 2-1 and a 2-2. Okay. What else you got, opponent? As silly as it seems, the Ferocidon's got some relatively decent utility. I know there's other cards out there that could be better, but it's not what we're playing. Cycles a Horizon Canopy here and then taps 2 mana right afterwards. We have a Conclave Mentor placed into play. What's hilarious is these Butchers represent 6 oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, we're going to blast my opponent. I think we win. I don't think we can lose here. We just play 2 Butchers here, and they attack. My token with my Rabble Master attacks as well. I wonder if I'm supposed to send in Rabble Master at this point and threaten lethal all the way around. I don't think so. Not with the Lightning Bolt in hand. So this represents 6 damage to their face if they block. And if they don't block, it represents 6 damage. Them blocking both of these, I might even send 1 to 1 creature and some upstairs. This is a lot of damage. And it's like non-preventable at this point. This just happens. Opponent's just like, I guess I'll take 9. I guess I'm not presenting lethal, but then at the same time, they need to put something at 4. They can't cast something below 3 with the Eidolon out if they let all this go through. This is just a lot of damage. My opponent can't do anything. I like this. Checkmark Butcher. Dreadhorde Butcher. We do block with the Knight here. And my opponent takes 6, goes to 4. Both of these grow, making them both lethal. Both lethal if killed not by path. Eidolon is lethal currently if they cast anything. I guess we're going to hook this up and draw, gain some life. Nope, nope, nothing. Locking them behind damage. Locking them behind damage. We'll just send the Dreadhorde Butchers. Send them in. I don't need to send anything else in here. This is lethal. It's just lethal. It's nothing to do here. Lethal. Are we gonna gain life? What are we gonna do? Whichever one they try to gain life on, it negates the life gain anyway. So they'll pay for gaining life. They gain life over here. I think I'm just going to let this resolve and just see what ends up happening, because I'm pretty sure we just kill them here. 2 triggers here. That's 4 damage. That's 4 damage. They go up to 5 because of the life link. They take 4. They take 4. Veil of Summer in response. In response to that, bolt you. Clever. Clever. I don't think I cast anything so they don't draw a card, but that's a clever way to do it. Okay. Nice. Well, we win that match. Butcher, Torbran. A powerful combo. We'll see you in the next one. 2-1. Dark Punisher. Modern. I haven't been convinced until that last match that what we've done made any sense. And then after seeing that one all come together, I'm convinced we have something here. I'm convinced. Speaking of being convinced, I'll keep this hand. Keep this. Looks great. Looks great. Let's name our Blackcleave Cliffs Mountain. Since we'll be watching this very close to the Zendikar pre-releases, you can swap out Blackcleave Cliffs for other nasty cards. Uh-oh. Oh no. Why every time? I record every time, and I run into this. This is awful. I'm about to lose. By the way, Rampaging Ferocidon's hilarious here. Well, I'll kind of F6 and see if they fizzle here. I'm hoping my opponent plays relatively quickly here. Even so, I'm not sure I kill them unless they randomly go to 3 and fizzle. But even so, they've got the Summoner Pact. This is the tough thing. Let's have a small moment here. The tough thing about recording content sometimes is sometimes you play awful. But you've spent hours recording, and well, you just have to put it up. YouTube then gets to the point where sometimes people are just like, that was awful. And I get that. You run into a matchup like this, and you're expecting 5 great leagues of at least content and battling back and forth. And here we are. I'm just having a conversation with you now. Probably run some ad because that's the normal cadence. And you're going to just watch someone else play Magic. Now I guarantee there's someone out there laughing, ecstatic that their pet deck is winning. And for that, I'm glad my entertainment can be of service. But the reason I don't concede is because typically an opponent like this is reasonably quick in terms of what they're doing. Thankfully. And also, if the deck is shuffled in a little bit of a weird way on Moto, and that happens, we could win because they could fizzle. That being said, my opponent now has 3 cards after our ramblings. Has put a Wild Cantor into play and is converting that to blue mana, which means Laboratory Maniac more than likely. We haven't cast too many Manamorphoses, which means they can get the rest of the cards. So if Lab Maniac is in those last 3, they're good. But my opponent has this, and even if I had Simian Spirit Guide and Bolt, it wouldn't matter because in response to that, my opponent would draw again. Gristlebrand. Neoform. Let's go to sideboard. I don't really have much for this. I'm going to bring in some Rampaging Ferocidons. The Combustion doesn't even make sense. I'll probably bring Molten Rains here too. I'm just going to take out the top end here. I'm going to take out something that's slow. In this case, probably just Kroxa makes some discard, I guess. Probably, honestly, maybe just a Bone Crusher. And just go. I have nothing for this matchup. Nothing. Red lacks a lot of possibilities we could bring in for this matchup. And because we're not doing a Simian Spirit Guide build, I'm very much at the mercy of pretty much my opponent having the turn 1 kill here. Let's play first, though. I don't like this hand. I need something that at least interacts with probably a land or that Ferocidon. So let's mulligan that. And there's our Ferocidon. There's a Butcher. We'll keep this hand. It is pretty much the best we can do against this. Eidolon would maybe be the one thing that's a little bit better here. But Rampaging Ferocidon and prevent my opponent from gaining life, that could seal the deal. We'll keep this. We're going to get rid of a War Boss. It's the slow over the 2 Rabble effects here. My opponent shows us 2 Chancellors. I will play a Black Cleave Cliffs in F6. And we will see if we get turn 1 both games. Opponent's got 7 cards. Waterlogged Grove, they've got enough to do an evolution. They just need Allosaurus Rider, an evolution or Neoform. There we go. Turn 1 into turn 1 here. It looks like they have the Neoform, so they have 1 floating here. And I can play Butcher next turn. Again, I don't have any acceleration in this build. We took that out. Got nothing for you. We don't want to put in a creature and attack that gain life. They'll attack me, gain 8, and be able to continue their combo. They haven't used a Summoner's Pact, so this one's pretty much turn 1 or turn 2 kill. We can continue to have a conversation, or I can probably just concede. We might even just not even play that ad from earlier. Leave a comment. What do you think about this? It's infrequent that we run into it. However, the non-game value here is quite substantial when it does happen. Turn 1s and turn 2s seem to be just pretty much the thing that this deck does. I don't know. Do you want to see me play this? You can't want to, right? Opponent has 29, 28 cards. If they heal one more time, we'll concede. Double Summoner's Pact here. We're good. We'll spare you. There you go. Match 3. Where we just sat here and had a conversation. We'll see you in the next one. And in all my confusion, I said match 3 at the end, but that last one was match 4. This is match 5. We are currently 2-2 overall, looking to get a 3-2 here. And I'll put an asterisk, 1 non-game where we just sat there as a quiet spectator watching my opponent show us their cool deck. Match 5 here. Let's play some Magic. Let's have an interactive game. Let's find an opponent. And right on cue. Sometimes that lines up perfectly. Match 5. Here we go. Playing the Dark Pyro. Swamp has hurt us once more. We will keep this hand, but it has hurt us. Out of 3 matches, it has hurt us in each. We have a Slippery Boggle here, which makes the Eidolon that much more tempting. Blackcleave Cliffs pass the turn. My opponent getting any life gain in the Boggle matchup will probably spell doom for us. 3-1 in, attacks. I'm just going to go ahead and bolt in response here. Getting this Butcher set up. Whoops. Definitely play the Butcher because it will grow. And if they do block, it will be able to do damage upstairs. Hits for 1, up to 2. Slippery Boggle, 3-1 here. Puts the Ethereal Armor. It is a 5-3. They attack. I'm at 12. They're going to be less. We attack here. Send this up to 3. They're at 11. I can get killed pretty quickly here. I have at least Bone Crusher plus Bolt here. Spider Umbra. They go up to 7 here. Stomp. Oh, Force of Rage would be a kill if I had the 3rd land. Three damage in. That puts them to 5. Horizon Canopy. I'm going to try to defend here. Defending here, and if my opponent doesn't have an extra thing to make this a little bit larger, could be game. Oh, it's a Griff Spoon. Now they just fly over me. Now they just fly over me. If I would have attacked for 3, my opponent would be at 4, the Bolt would put them to 1. This game came down to pretty much not having that double red, probably for this Eidolon. Whew, that's a fast one, though. Butcher almost got us there, too. Fast games here require fast sideboards and fast game 2s. Let's go. I think for this one, I might not have much. I could bring in Molten Rains to slow them down slightly. I could also bring in Ferocidons over something like a Hazoret Torbrand here as a way to prevent life gain. I'll probably do that and just see if I get lucky. Skelemental could ruin their plans here, and the Force of Rage could be a block that is nice, impossible to have. With that Griff's Boon, it flew over, so the Force of Rage wasn't even an out for us, unfortunately. This hand looks reasonably keepable. We'll go ahead and keep this. We don't have a turn 1, however, we have turn 2 and beyond. Temple Garden here shocks it in. We have the Boggle. All right, we're racing Boggle again. This time, though, we get to do a little bit more damage. In for a point here, past the turn. This game might come down to who is on the play and who is on the draw. Second land for our opponent. Are we going to see 2 things on the Boggle, or are we going to see a core? Ethereal Armor. That's never a good sign. Followed by another Boggle. They decide not to attack here. First Strike ruins our Lightning Skelemental here. I think for this turn, I'm just going to play a Bone Crusher Giant and pass. If they can please attack with their First Striker, then the Skelementals do damage. Until that First Striker comes in, we're in trouble here. Daybreak Coronet would be awful too. Core Spirit Dancer. Plays a Scout. Well, we have an opportunity to kill the core. Opponent does not attack here. We will go ahead and stomp the core here. I'm going to go ahead and get in with Bone Crusher. It would kill. It would kill some things. They chump block. They don't chump block. They chump block. All right. It's a good chump block. Respect that chump block. Extra land here. Spirit Mantle. Protection from creatures. As long as this doesn't get vigilant. Spirit Link is really good for them. All right, it's put sideways here. They gain some life. We put the creature, the land tapped. We're gonna play a lightning skelemental here. It's the most amount of damage. We attack for 12. They block Bone Crusher. Triggers. They're out of cards here. This will be interesting because it's only a 5/5 right now. Next turn I can play Bone Crusher plus Skelemental. We'll see if they attack me. And they do. Sending in for 5. Gains 5 up to 19. I'm at 10. What's that other card you got? Alright. Rabblemaster is dangerous here. The reason it's dangerous, in my opinion, is because if they decide to sit back this next turn, I just send goblins in and they regain their life total. So here I'm going to play a Bone Crusher Giant. And we're going to do that after we attack with Skelemental here. So we're going to hit for 13 damage this turn. My opponent has a path. That's rough. Alright, we hit for 10 instead. 10, we get to play a Bone Crusher. I'm representing 8, but they get to attack for 5. This may not be enough. Ethereal Armor makes this a 10/10. Well, that path kind of screwed us up. Path kind of screwed us up, and the top deck of the Ethereal Armor finishes us off. We're 2-3 overall. Not bad. Not great, but not bad. We'll see you in the conclusion. Dark Red Punisher here in Modern. Something just a little bit different. And to see, hey, does it benefit us? Now, one thing we haven't explored with this build is bringing in things like Thoughtseize and Inquisition as a way to disrupt my opponent briefly. That would probably be my recommendation as a next iteration of this, if this tickles your fancy and you're curious about how this progresses. I think going a little bit harder on the Hazards might have not been the smartest plan here, so we can dial those back as well, grabbing a few sideboard slots. Molten Rain, though, did seem to do at least a reasonable amount of damage. I would probably revert back to Magus or Blood Moon for a little bit, but if you are in that Amulet Tron meta, I would maybe go ahead and just keep the Molten Rains. Dreadhorde Butcher was actually very good against creature matchups, which was interesting to see. And Lightning Skelemental did what it needed to. One thing that we're not doing is like an Unearth package, and an Unearth package here, while my opponents can remove our creatures, might not be a bad idea. Unearthing Seasoned Pyromancer wouldn't be bad. Unearthing Rabblemaster probably wouldn't be bad. Unearthing Bone Crusher really wouldn't be too bad. So maybe there's something there with a little bit of recursion. In the event that you can't get something to stick very well, you can maybe get it back. Kroxa was here for late game. We never really ran into too much mid-range, a lot of fast decks. I would go ahead and you could probably cut that to be more aggro, or if you'd like to shift this into a little more mid-range, where you have Kroxas, maybe not the Butchers, and you decide to play Glorybringer, or maybe a bigger Chandra, you could do that as well. Or you could just stick with Red Punisher, because it's fairly fast. Most people have just been telling us about Force of Rage, and I did keep a few in there just for those few folks. Didn't come in handy, unfortunately. The Griff's Boon matchup there with the Boggles, it could have been useful. And against Euro, it did attempt to do something, however, our opponent had what they needed to. Dark Pyro, just something different here. Leave a like, subscribe, or comment of what you think. It probably doesn't have legs, but that's what we just said about Dark Pyro Prison, and you watched that one from yesterday, right? Right? See you in the next matches.